Becoming a narrator and learning a whole new world of audiobook narrating is an awesome journey for those getting into it. But it certainly has its challenges. To make it happen, you have to be consistent, learn the performance side of things, and the technical side of things. I want to find out the narrator's side of the story. I'm Ryan May, and in each episode of the Home Audio Podcast, I'm talking with a wide array of narrators in their adventure in doing just that. From veteran narrators to beginners, just learning the trade. Learning their strategies, their wins, and what is still ahead for them. As you dive into each interview, I want to give you something that narrators learn when they're on their adventure. The 4-Step Narrator Guide is a digestible version of that journey it takes to become a narrator. It's simple, but effective action steps that can help aid you in your journey. If you want to download this, just head to thehomeaudioproject.com/narrator and sign up there. As you'll hear in this podcast, there are tons of steps to take, but with drive, determination, and some bumps and bruises along the way, you can make it happen no matter what background you come from. Today's guest is Greg Stack. Greg is a brand new narrator who is already on his 3rd book and has no plans on stopping just yet. Still working his career job for years, he's looking to grow his skills after retirement, expand his creative nature, and tackle yet another life lesson to add to his repertoire, and definitely keeps busy in anything that he does. We also got a little personal and shared stories that are near and dear to his heart. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you have to hear this guy's voice. This dude sounds exactly like James Earl Jones. He may be a newer narrator in the industry, but this guy has the plan, is making the right moves, and pushes forward to make it happen. In Greg's words, some stories just need to be told. In my opinion, the narrator story is just as important. So sit back and enjoy my conversation with Greg Stack. Cool. So, first off, I want to say thank you for joining me. Thanks for doing this with me.
No problem.
I really appreciate it. I know, like we had talked a little earlier when we were working out bugs and doing a test run, that you're newer to doing audiobooks and things like that. So, First off, I would love to know, how did you get started as a narrator? What fueled it?
No, basically, I'd heard from a number of people. They thought that I had a good voice, and some people said I had a classic voice for some of this stuff and good diction and stuff. So I decided I had heard of people making a living off of this, and so I decided to explore the possibility of making that happen and what it would take. Everybody was indicating that you would need some voice classes and things like that, but that's true. It's not, that wouldn't hurt to get some voice classes and also doing, the narration and whatnot else. But I think you also need an education in the DAW systems and also in editing once all that is done. So, you're at the same time, you're attempting to learn 2 or 3 different aspects of the business simultaneously. And I'm still in the process of learning. I think I know I am. But I've learned a lot of painful lessons recently, like do not have your cell phone on while you are doing any recording, that kind of thing. It makes a buzzing noise. Didn't know that. Do now. That's a lot of things that are attendant with it that you just don't realize. But what got me into it was just a kind of a curiosity of it. And I'm nearing retirement myself. My conventional job, I work at Stellantis, what used to be called Chrysler. But yeah, I'm looking, life after retirement. What am I going to do? So I thought, I really thought about pursuing this more of as a hobby rather than an income, but I'll pretty much make it a secondary income.
Yeah, I was going to say, so has it kind of maybe fueled that passion for, I don't know if you want to call it passion, but somewhere along the lines of where you could see doing this narration thing for an extra income? Like, do you see yourself doing this long term, or?
Yeah, longer term, maybe till I'm in my 70s or something like that. I don't know. It's my job at Chrysler does involve something of a physical dimension. And I'm at the age of 65, 64 right now. I'm not getting younger as I sit here. So
Sure.
it's kind of intrigues me that I could actually earn money with some companies that are overseas,
Right.
and I could do a job there, and they send me money. I'm doing basically I'm doing small videos, as you may remember, for an outfit in the Philippines, and it's like small sports video type of announcer, Mr. Announcer voice, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And these top 10 players in the NBA, what they make, here's their
Right.
salary breakdown, that kind of thing like that. They want me to
Sure.
put some emotion into it, some verve into it. So I do. And I'm also finishing up and narrating a book for a guy in Great Britain.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, I hope to have all that stuff all taken care of, pursue other work and keep on making it more lucrative.
Sure. So question is that I'm curious about is what inspires you to do this? Whether it's the money or anything else, that's cool. But what inspires you? And then if anything, what continues to inspire you to pursue this?
Oh, okay. It's kind of a more or less a creative aspect. It's another challenge. I think that's what inspires me to learn something else new. After a while, you've done something for a long time at Chrysler, you get stuck in a rut, and they make sure you stay there, especially if it's an essential service they really, really need. But they don't have any control over any of this. So I'm basically kind of it's just getting into another creative aspect. I'm trying to learn how to play the piano. I'm learning how to sail a sailboat, or I bought one a couple of years ago, et cetera. So I'm kind of like branching out, and if I made money doing it, I would not be terribly averse to that. So yeah, and it's the type of thing where I could chuck it all here in the United States, move to Portugal, go live on a marina someplace in Oporto, Portugal, or something like that, and on a 45-foot sailboat, and do voiceovers, and still get paid, and But yeah, it's a dream.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's kind of a dream that you can literally live your life wherever you want. And
yeah, portable income.
Exactly. Yeah. Some would want to call that passive, but it takes a lot of work up front to necessarily.
I'm learning how much. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the books that you have narrated, whether it's just been a handful, have you noticed a different type of approach that you've had to take with any different book or avenue that you've gone down in your narration or voiceover journey?
Not really. I would think that would be subject dependent, or whatever the rights holder wants.
Mm-hmm.
This one I'm doing a book for now says, oh, I want the first half of the book to be more or less like you're talking to somebody in a bar, and you're just talking about something that you're trying, or something that you encountered. And second half, I want it to be more of a conciliatory, more of a mentoring type of thing, where you're giving someone sage counsel and advice. But then he changed his mind. He says, well, okay, well, I changed my mind about the part 2. I want it to be the same as part 1. So, I want you to be more animated and more engaging. So I had to flush everything in part 2 and do it over again.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's, but yeah, so, there are, technical books. This book I'm doing now is kind of a self-help book, and the other ones were technical books that were just antiseptic, sterile, kinds of things. The other book was on solar panel installation, and the challenges you encounter on that. So it depends on the type of read. If it's technical, you'd adopt a technical tone. If it's more of a self-help type of thing, you would adopt that sort of a tone also. So it depended on the material, I think. I've kind of noticed an evolution, I think, in my reading a little bit. I tend to put things a little bit more expressive than I might otherwise do. Try and engage the reader, is the goal.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. No, I honestly couldn't have said it better myself. I've talked to you earlier today how I do work for a West Michigan based publisher. And honestly, that's one of the things that our producers, our casting directors, that's one of the number one things I say is to be expressive. So, I mean, you've already kind of touched on some of them, but what were some of the struggles, or what are some of the struggles that you've realized or that you hit on when you first were getting started? Like right from day one when you were initially getting into this, what
Right.
was like the first struggle? What are some of the ongoing struggles that you still continuously have issue with, whether it be software or performance or anything along those lines?
Yeah, it's software and hardware. Things of that nature were some of the initial struggles. You throw the switch on the machine and it doesn't work like it did yesterday. You have no idea what you hit, and so you got to go back, retrace your steps, and meanwhile, your rights holder is demanding that this document be delivered by a certain timeline, and time is of the essence, and it's running out. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that some of the software challenges and growing accustomed to the software and the hardware using that kind of stuff. Secondarily, you become more conscious of stuff when you're trying to read this for the money. It is I find myself, I'll agonize over a sentence. I'll start it, screw up, go back, start it again, et cetera. I'll do it. But fortunately, the rights holder does not hear all of the versions that I record. He's only heard just the last one. A third part of the difficulties attendant with that there's a whole bunch of forces out there that are conspiring to not allow you to do this recording.
Right.
You reside in the household with a bunch of other people, and all they have to do is come downstairs, and the stairs are creaking and the floor above you is creaking, and or somebody flushes a toilet, or the guys are collecting the garbage out in the front of the street, or there's a thunderstorm rolling in, or there's a plane, an aircraft happens to fly over. There's a number of things that happen that you wouldn't otherwise, that you would casually dismiss otherwise, but they're just something that you can't filter out an aircraft flying overhead.
Right.
There's just some stuff that's going to stop you like that. So life conspires to contaminate whatever you happen to be doing in the voiceover thing. Another one is your general physical condition. There are some things that you can eat or drink that are not your best friend as far as being a voiceover. There, a lot of those happen to contain dairy. You don't want to do that. It produces a lot of phlegm, and you'll be hacking up a lot of that crap as you go. Over Christmas vacation, we have a long Christmas vacation, Christmas layover for Stellantis, and I've got a lot of time built up. So I take the whole month basically of December off. The reason why I'm mentioning that, I'm like, well, I got this book contract and yeehaw, this is great. I've got the whole month of December off. I can knock this book off, lickety split, whammo, just like that.
Yeah.
And then I got COVID. And then, so,
Oh, yeah.
so now, my voice is scratchy and it sounds a little bit, worse than it might otherwise be. So that was a challenge.
So I guess how was that healing process? How long were you out? Where are you now percentage wise? If you had to guess, are you feeling 100%? I'm glad I didn't. When we talked earlier, I had no idea that happened. I'm glad that you're.
I'm 100%. Oh yeah, definitely.
Good.
I had it for a couple of weeks. Some person recommended work. I was like, man, I got this consistent sore throat, and I'm just it's not a productive cough. It's just a nagging, scratchy throat thing. She says, well, that's one of the symptoms. You got to go get tested. So I did, and whammo, I tested. Sure enough, I tested positive. The guy came out and he says, well, you got it.
Oh.
So corporate policy dictates you stay out for at least 2 weeks. Then you have to get another test that confirms that you're okay,
right.
And then you can come back in. So I dealt with that process, but I thought I could get away with recording the book, with COVID. And for the most part, I think I did, but there were parts where the rights holder said, boy, this sounds scratchy, or this sounds, icky. Can you do it again? So there was a bunch of parts there where I had to tear it up and do it again.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it did take its toll a little bit,
Okay.
but
But you're feeling good
I
now. Everything's
oh
back to
yeah,
100%.
yeah. I had a friend die of it in 2020.
Oh
So,
man, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, that was just before. Thank you. Just before anybody knew that it was around,
Mm.
and it took him in like 90 minutes.
Oh
That was
man,
it. Yeah,
man.
catastrophic
Well,
organ failure, whammo. So, but yeah, so I can't complain about the experience that I had at all.
sure,
So
sure. Oh, that's fair. So you did kind of touch on this a little bit, just with, external noise, things that are kind of outside of your control. And I've seen in the narrator group that we're in, you're still learning things, still processing things, trying to figure some things out. So in that, what did you so far have to overcome more on the audio side of things, whether that be recording or editing, mastering, even the reading portion, prepping your script, anything like that? What was one of the things that was a bigger struggle that you've already overcame? And it was something that you didn't know about in the beginning when you were first getting into this?
right. Some of that was like, for instance, I'm initially using Audacity here. I'm trying to get into a different DAW now, but all of the secondary editing, there are just things that you are wholly unaware of, like the cell phone thing,
Mm.
like how best to get rid of breaths. I'm told there are a couple of softwares out there that just you click a button pretty much and whammo, it gets rid of them for you automatically. But right now I'm going through I have a 4-hour, 5-minute long book, and I'm going through manually every single pause.
Mm.
And I am going through and I am getting every single breath out of it manually, one at a time, bang, bang, and that's time consuming. I'm going to love learning this other software where I can just click a button and zap, it's done.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I'm still going to be learning, and a lot of terms, noise reduction, pop filter, some of the curves and stuff like that. You put you rinse all of these audio files through, and I had no idea that they were this powerful just on a PC level. I mean, just on a laptop. It's crazy powerful, even as nominally pedestrian as Audacity. It's extremely powerful stuff. But
Yeah.
you're capable of probably, with this one setup, you're probably, with a laptop and Audacity software, you're probably more capable and powerful than a guy with a room full of acoustic laboratory equipment of 40 years ago. you know
Sure.
so
Yeah.
I think I think the technology is raced light years ahead.
And to that, just technology changing all the time. In what you've learned so far, in the books you've read, what are some of the wins that you've had? And what are some of the fails or some of the shortcomings that you're still trying to work on?
Okay, one of the good things that I think I've accomplished is how to limit the amount and the noise of my breath. I don't know how I've been doing it. I seem to have cultivated, even though I'm not using it now, but I seem to have cultivated some sort of an ability to squelch my breath while I am narrating, and it's and I may, I take shorter, quieter breaths or whatever, and it seems to work. That's, I think, one of my triumphs. One of the things that I am working on getting right still, I think, is the conjunction of my audio interface and my microphone, some of the technical aspects of the hardware and stuff that I use, and so I'm still working through that, and also the softwares, of course. So I think the learning the hardware software aspect is a challenge that I'm still battling against, and that'd be my big negative, I think, there.
But
And
overall, learning this whole journey, getting into audiobook narration, setting up your profile, landing books,
yeah,
which is more than half the battle, I think. And kudos to you, man. Because it's hard to do. I've asked so many narrators, "Hey, how'd you get into this?" You know, a lot of them are just like, "Oh, I have an acting background in theater or whatever the case may be."
yeah,
Some don't. And I would say it's almost like a 50-50 blend based on the people I've talked to, coming from your background, and you're landing books. Granted, you have a great voice. We talked about that earlier. Like when I was
Thanks.
very
Yeah.
impressed with that voice memo you sent me. Awesome. So yeah, no wonder why you're gonna land books, man. You have a great voice, and
Thank
you
you.
have the
Appreciate that.
mindset, the intelligence to do this. It makes sense when you put all the pieces together.
Yeah, I kind of decided, not to let the process scare me. It is tough, especially if I get into things like, where you have a script and you get locked in a studio room alone, and you've got this deliver this script, and it's got to be flawless. And
Mm.
I think and production time costs a lot of money. So, but basically I just decided to just do a cannonball, just go, just do it,
Yeah,
go,
just jump right in.
yeah, some things I learned, via the University of YouTube. It's type of thing. I get my file all done and submit it to ACX, and then the ACX flag comes up and says, "Oh, your noise is inadequate." I'm like, "Oh, so I go into YouTube and say, how to fix floor noise in Audacity. Enter. And 18 guys come up there with all these methods on how that can be done, and I'm like,
Right.
huzzah! So. That is a useful, invaluable resource, in my opinion. Having the online resources, having the help menus, and also having the crazy amount of people that are on the forums, like you've alluded to. The ACX narrators, Facebook. And there's a bunch of them that are on the web, not only Facebook, but they're all over. They're on Instagram, etc. You can contact people and you ask them, "Hey, I'm having this issue." But you get these things all ironed out through the community, and people are just so terribly willing to help. And it's a really supportive community out there.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I've been in this industry now for 10 years, and I've noticed the same thing, especially when you get into some of these narrator groups, whether it be through Facebook or Reddit or Instagram. Everyone starts somewhere, right?
Yeah.
In anything that we do. So
Exactly. Yeah.
when you're getting into these groups, it's like, well, yeah, I might have read 500 books by now, but I was you once. And here's some takeaways that I've gone through. Here's some struggles I've been through. And I even noticed that on the engineer side of things. I think that's one of the most powerful things that we have in this industry, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that kind of drives me nuts too is I've been involved basically with 3 books. One of them was narrating Microsoft Excel, the new one. But I'm like, basically what he did was he grabbed a copy of Microsoft Excel through fraudulent means. And this guy represented himself as the rights holder and says, "Well, just do the book, record me." So, I'm like, great. So I'll do this. And then it's going to be fraudulent. And then Microsoft can't find this guy in Nigeria, but they can find me in the United States.
Sure.
So
Sure.
they're going to sue the living hell out of me if I proceed with this. Probably not, but I was envisioning some version of that. The second one that I had I was all fraught with difficulties. I was with this book. It was like the one that I was alluding to earlier on solar panels setups and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy who wrote it was not a Native American speaker, so a lot of his expressions were very foreign. So they were awkward to try and narrate. It's because there's a certain phraseology of English that we use here in the United States of America, things that expressions and phrases that naturally follow. And you start going down that and you're like, oh, wait a minute, the guy didn't write that. Okay, back it up. But my inclination or impulse is to read it exactly as they wrote it. Because I'm not the writer, I'm the performer.
Right.
The guy I'm doing it for, doing another book for right now on Unlock Your Financial Freedom is what it's called. That book that I'm doing right now is same notation. The guy does write in English, but that's the thing. He writes in English, and I don't speak English. I speak American.
Sure.
So a lot of his expressions or whatnot are alien to me.
Yeah.
And I'd get that done straight away, that kind of thing. And
sure.
Calling cookies are not there. Cookies are biscuits and things like that. This just things that that you wouldn't otherwise think. But it kind of breaks your cadence, it breaks your rhythm, it breaks your standard expectations on delivering the standard English language. But I guess the guy wants his book spoken in America. I guess he could pick any British person. And I was contacted by him out of the blue. I did not audition for this guy.
Okay.
I just had he apparently got a hold of a couple of my samples that were on ACX. He listened to it, and he contacted me. Then there was a snafu. The ACX thought he wasn't the rights holder. So,
okay.
so they pulled the book, so he got that straightened out and came back to me. He says, well, they gave me back the book, so let's go and do it again. So, so that's why it's taken from Christmas until now to do this thing.
Sure. So have you thought of, in your career of doing this, if you plan to make it a long-term thing, like it sounds like you are, is there a dream book genre you want to narrate, whether it's a specific author or a title? Is there a dream goal, project, pinnacle moment that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, maybe something along the lines of an action adventure or something with narrating history. I think historical fact is something that I enjoy, because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. It really is. So the life stories of some people are like, holy, are you kidding me? You endured this,
Sure.
And narrating, bringing those types of stories to life for people is something I think that is a dream for me, or narrating a story of a person that needs to be told, especially, in these days and these changing times. I had no idea that George Washington had a collection of spies that spied for him, and things. And as you might expect, the Brits caught some of these guys with obvious consequences, and they were forgotten patriots.
Sure.
Really. The British tended to really respect Nathan Hale when they caught him. They charged him with treason and they hung him. He coined I only regret that I have but one life to live for my country, etc. But they took down his last words and conveyed them. But stories, noble stories of noble action and noble deeds and things like that go on around us every day. And I think the stories of those kinds of people should be told,
Yeah, no, I actually appreciate that. I love that. That was a perfect thing to say, that stories that need to be told. I think that is one of the best quotes I've heard in a long time. And that's your quote, man. I'm giving that to you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Like Angelina Jolie, she's an actress and all that kind of thing. And she's branched off into directing. But she told a story of a guy in World War II who's captured by the Japanese and spent, years in a concentration camp under the Japanese purview and stuff. And she told his story because it was important. And about 2 years after his story came out and was made into a movie, he died. But before he died, he was able to see what he went through and what he endured, made known to people, and had his sacrifices recognized.
Yeah.
And and it's a good thing she decided to do that project when she did.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's a cool thing to hear that there are, there's always two sides to a coin, right? So
yeah. The extraordinary feats of heroism and uncommon valor and bravery are something that I would look forward, I think, to narrating. Stories like the story of my mother. My brother was handicapped with cerebral palsy, and he lived to be 40 years old. But my mother took care of him day and night until the day he died. Ultimately, she fed him, changed his diapers, even though he was 40 years old, gave him drinks, was shattered when he died. All those kinds of, and my mom was a Rosie the Riveter in World War II.
Yeah.
And she was also one of the first working women. She worked in clerical capacity for Burroughs Corporation. And so she she was a remarkable person who who led something of a remarkable life. And it'd be kind of cool if her story were, perhaps I'll write it one day.
Yeah.
I better hurry up here. It would be interesting to have that come to light.
Oh man, no, I appreciate that. I thank you for, first off, for even mentioning that. Us just getting to know each other, I had no idea. So one, I'm sorry that you lost your brother.
That's okay.
Hey man, I appreciate you being so open about your mom, your brother. I love your story, to be honest. Like it's it's fascinating to me because, like I said, there's always two sides to a coin. But this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast, was because not just to get the inside information of what narrators deal with and what I've seen as an engineer in audiobooks, also to get your story. And it's refreshing to hear. It's like you said, it's important to get other people's stories out there. I feel like it's also important to get your story out there.
Yeah, for somebody who's on the fence as far as maybe going to try and be a narrator or a voiceover artist who's saying, I can't do this, and I was sure I couldn't either, so I did it.
Yeah.
But I'm far from superstar yet, but
Right.
but I'm working on it, and we'll see if it falls on its face in 5 years. It will have been a fun journey, but
I don't think it's going to, man. I mean, you have the right mindset. You have an awesome personality. You have a killer voice. I've already said that once.
Thanks.
I have a couple more things, but I do want to have people hear what we did earlier when you got into that Star Wars voice.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us a little sample of that? Because I was like really blown away by that, man. I thought that was so good, so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, he literally sounds like James Earl Jones. It was really good.
Yeah.
Get a little sample of that.
Of course. Monitor Skywalker's spacecraft and allow him to land. I find your lack of faith disturbing.
And that kind of thing.
I love that you said earlier in a conversation that we had earlier today that you do that in the drive-through. Can you is this like an every time thing?
No, it's not. It's just, I got a couple of friends that are goofy in the car, and I'm just going to try and impress them or whatever it is, and you say,
yes, I'd like a single Whopper without pickles this time. Or you have failed me for the last time,
that kind of thing. Like,
and they mess up your order.
Yeah, they mess up your, that kind of thing. Yeah, and so you try and like choke them from a remote, and it doesn't happen for you. Like it does for Darth Vader, But
you're squeezing your hand, and they're like, "What is this guy doing?"
Yeah.
So I guess just before we go, man, what's your process right now? How busy are you? What's your next couple of books that you have up, or next book that you have going, and how booked do you want to be? I guess no pun intended there, but how scheduled out do you want to be? Like what's the long-term goal for staying busy?
My long-term goal is to be able to work on an audiobook every day, depending on what it is. I'm also waiting in limbo for the final edits for that book on Unlock Your Freedom. So right now I'm in between jobs, as they say.
Sure.
And I don't want to get it too hard, at it because I'm still working full time.
Sure.
But once those responsibilities are discharged and I'm retired, wham, I'm available to do audiobooks and narration and VO full time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, that being the case, I think basically what I'm doing now is serving as more or less a dress rehearsal for some of the more stuff where I'm going to have to like schedule my time. My plan is to do a lot of the business side of this. I want to establish an LLC, which they indicate is probably pretty wise to do. Also, a business account in PayPal, and get a website going, get on all the social media and stuff, get a presence out there for right now.
I'm looking forward to hearing more books from you, man. Because like I said, I love your voice, man. Like you definitely,
you.
I can see why people have already said that, friends, family members, whoever had said that to you in the past have said that. And then, Cheryl, her
Yeah,
comment there.
yeah, yeah. She was totally unexpected, man. It was like, wow.
Well, cool, man.
Exactly.
You know what? I appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to, do this with me.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely wish you the best of luck, in the whole journey.
Cool.
Hey man, I'm gonna throw this out there too, just to maybe a shameless plug, but you need anything from me, man, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm
Okay.
more than happy to help.
do that.
Like I said, being an audio engineer for the past 10 years for a West Michigan based publisher, audiobook publisher, I've seen my fair share of struggles and triumphs and things like that. And I'm going to be honest and say, hey, I might not be able to help you with that, but I'll sure try. Or there'll be some other times where, yeah, absolutely, I would love to help
Thank
you.
you.
That's kind of where I'm about. So yeah, man, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate, man. I'm there for you for sure.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, all right, man. Well, I hope you have a good night. Thank you again for chatting with me, and we'll get your story out there, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Appreciate it, Ryan.
That was an awesome conversation. Greg is super generous with his time, and I enjoyed my time with him a ton. Be sure to check out his books as they come out. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss another upcoming episode with another awesome narrator. And if you want to support me and this podcast, this video podcast, and you're looking for a quick win in starting the path to narration, remember, head to thehomeaudioproject.com/narrator. Hey, thanks for listening. We will see you in another episode of the Home Audio Podcast real soon.